He was none other than the Honorable Dr. Martin Luther King. Now, Dr. King in the struggle endured a lot, all the trials and tribulations and intricate plots, until finally they decided to take his life. So I guess you can say he paid the ultimate price. Well, I know that if Dr. King were alive today, his I Have a Dream speech might have went this way. I had a dream yesterday that instead of cursing, our kids would pray. And in this dream, there was love everywhere. No time for hopelessness, no room for despair. I had a dream. I had a dream that one day young boys would put down the drugs and pull up their pants and realize they had the whole world in the palm of their hands. Little girls in this dream would be filled with so much pride. Instead of walking around with no hope in their eyes, I had a dream. Now in this dream, there were many young faces, the hope and the future of a strong nation. But oh, what does it mean to be young, gifted, and on track, when instead of going forward, we're going back? My people, don't you know something's wrong with that? So dare to be different, dare to achieve, dare to be a dreamer like Dr. Martin Luther King. Reach for the stars, acknowledge God in all you do, because when praises go up, blessings come down to you. And remember that your attitude will determine your altitude. Now, Dr. King's dream was the dream of yesterday. Create your own dreams, is all I'm trying to say. So ladies and gentlemen, this is the dream today. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you all for that. Now, where I come from, you hear some good poetry, you're supposed to snap your fingers. But thank you all so very much. And first of all, let me thank you all for the invitation to come today, to the president, Ms. Paula Simpson, to Ms. Michelle for the invitation today, and Ms. Treyway for the introduction. I certainly appreciate it. Of course, when I got the invitation, I had some pertinent questions like, who would be the group that I'm speaking to? What should I be speaking about? And of course, the most important question was, how much time did I have? Well, I was told that we wanted a theme of collaboration today. I was also told that I'll be speaking to administrators from the high school. But then I was finally told that I could speak for as long as I like, but you all will be leaving at 12:30. So with that in mind, I know I won't be before you too long. I was reminded of the story about a preacher that was known to speak too long. And one day during a particular long service, one of the deacons got up, and of course this was a pastor that just felt like nobody gets up in the middle of my sermon, and he stopped the sermon and asked the deacon where was he going. The deacon replied, I'm going to get a haircut. And he said, a haircut? You should have got a haircut before you came. He said, well, I didn't need one then, so some of y'all do that. But again, my name is Dr. Freddie Williams, Jr., and I know many of you were wondering why I started off this presentation with a poem about Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr. and dreams. Well, number one, I wanted to capture your attention, and I certainly hope that I did that. But I also wanted to illustrate how important it is to dream. I think Benjamin May stated best that the tragedy of life is not having a goal, is not having a goal to reach. And then he went on to say that it isn't a calamity to die with dreams unfulfilled, but it is a calamity not to dream. And so at Alabama State, of course, we believe in all those things. We also believe that by starting off with this particular poem, I wanted to talk about the history of Alabama State University. In 1867, 9 free slaves known as the Marian Nine founded what would eventually become Alabama State University with $500 and dare I say a dream. So never underestimate the power of dreams, because dreams are the roadmap to the future, and we believe that we should encourage our kids, as you deal with those particular students, that a dream can change the nation. And you see, each of you, whether you're an educator, counselor, community leader, you all play a vital role in what I like to say can either be a dream killer or a dream facilitator, because you have influence and you do make the difference. So the title of the presentation today, I did put together a PowerPoint so you don't have to just look at me, so we can do a PowerPoint. And the title of this particular speech today is just the facilitate or annihilate the role in supporting the student dream. And so if you'll move to the next slide for me. Okay, you go. You're going back, there you go. All right, so first let's talk about the collaboration and who's collaborating. So as a recruiter, as the AVP, as she mentioned during the bio introduction, one of the things that I oversee is the Office of Admissions and Recruitment. And so the role of recruiters in this particular collaboration. Recruiters are the storytellers and the bridge builders that come from the university. They bring the story of the university to life, its people, its programs, and its possibilities. Recruiters also connect students to opportunity. When you talk about opportunities, they don't just visit the high school. At least they're not supposed to just visit the high school. They're supposed to translate higher education to something that students can see and feel and believe that is possible. Next slide. Recruiters assist counselors. They provide the updated information about the admissions requirements, scholarship deadlines, academic programs, and student life experiences so that the counselors can guide the students more effectively. And finally, recruiters make college real. Through campus tours, fairs, presentations, recruiters help students envision themselves as college graduates, not just applicants. I tell my folks all the time, when I walk into a high school, my job isn't to just sell Alabama State University. It's to help students realize that college is possible, that it's affordable, and that there's a community waiting to support them, right? Next slide. So we're talking about also how recruiters and counselors can partner for success. First, of course, all good counselors know their students and their academic strengths and financial challenges. Now, and I run across some bad counselors. I've been doing this long enough to have run into some folks who have just needed to go home and retire. I've literally had counselors see a student talking to me at a particular event, or if I come to the school for a private event, don't waste your time with this one. He doesn't know, he ain't up to no good, he don't know what he wants to do, just don't waste your time. And I'm always I take offense to that, because you're speaking life, or in this case, death into this young man, right? And so I've had that happen, believe it or not, more than once, in more than one different settings. I've had it happen in small schools, I've had it happen in big schools. And so those are things that always kind of give me room for pause, because you know that these are the people that are speaking stuff into our students. So, I know if you're here today, that tells me that you're a part of the good people, right? And so you're here to get information so that you can pour life into our students. So I appreciate you all for being here. Recruiters also know the institutional resources and admission trends. And then together, if you put all that together, we can match the right student with the right opportunity. And I think you said it best. You have students who sometimes college is not for everybody. You have some that want to do the military, or they may want to go to trade school, whatever that looks like. You need people, of course, knowing what that is, and then being able to speak that, and get them in the right direction so that they can be successful. You go to the next slide. Early engagement is key. One of the things that we see right now is the earlier we start, the better the outcomes. And I'm sure I'm preaching to the choir, because I'm sure you all know that. But one of the things, and I think Michelle said it earlier, about getting juniors and sophomores involved in these college fairs so they can start seeing themselves in that. Also, what kind of majors that the college offers, understanding financial aid. Early planning expands options and more scholarships in terms of that, more majors in terms of that, and more time to build a stronger application pool. Next slide. Helping students understand communication and collaboration. Schedule joint information sessions, and this is kind of things for you all to do if you're not doing that already, and I'm sure most of you are already doing this. Inviting recruiters to classroom visits or counselor breakfasts. So a lot of times we go into schools, and I tell my recruiters all the time, I hate the lunchroom wave visits. I don't know if everybody does that, because typically those kids are, they've been in class all day, they're ready to talk and hang and play with their friends and eat. And so you're there with this little lonely table, you walk right past you going in, and they might stop on the way going back, but they might not. So sometimes when we go to situations like that, one of the things I always ask them and encourage them to do is see if they can go into a classroom and just talk to a group of students, because sometimes that's the best way to catch people when they need to. Invite recruiters into the classroom to any breakfast or lunch or any special events at the school. Create a parent workshop that explains FAFSA. We have a financial aid office, and they are willing to travel and to come in and talk about all the changes with FAFSA. I'm sure you all are familiar with that, because there are a lot of them, and the whole process has changed. And to have somebody come in to explain that to parents who may not have gone to college themselves, sometimes it's a great tool to kind of get them accustomed to what's to come. Also, they can talk about scholarship stacking and housing timelines, anything that a student would need to know. When recruiters and counselors communicate regularly, the student benefits the most. Students are less likely to miss deadlines or feel lost or give up. And that's when we can always turn that dream into a degree. Next slide. So the role now of family and community. So families, of course, the civic groups reinforce college awareness, like the group that we're here right now celebrating and eating with today. They encourage, by having these events, encouraging the attendance at college fairs and sessions, build a culture of higher education. And that's when we really start need to really be planting those seeds so that students can become aware of the curriculums, majors, and I always tell students all the time, what is it that you like to do? Because if you do that, it's not like you're going to school, it's not like you're going to a job, you're going somewhere to do what you love to do. Also the scholarship and financial aid opportunities that we talked about earlier, the difference between, need-based and merit-based, and also whatever specialized other aid opportunities that are out there. The admissions requirements to a college. I've been at many college fairs, and I know what the students, what their curriculum, what they have in terms of admissions requirements, because they've had a conversation with me, and then they'll go to the table next to me where they don't meet those requirements, and I know that. And so being realistic about where they're going is also key, because a lot of them have, because they see these schools on TV and football Saturdays and all this other stuff, and they just really want to be at those spaces, and in those spaces, a lot of times that's not really where they, number one, qualify. And sometimes they don't thrive in opportunities like that. And so we want to make sure that they're aware of what the requirements are. So, I won't say waste their time, but, that way they can steer their energy into the place where they really need to be, so they can meet those deadlines. I've had people holding on to hope that they're going to get into this other school, and then the other school decision never comes, or if it comes, it's not a good decision for them. And now you trying to pivot to do plan B, and so you miss important deadlines. And so for them to know what those deadlines are is key. Also, campus culture. We talked earlier, Michelle and I were talking earlier about the open houses that they have at the different colleges to get the students out there to see that college, you want them to know about the classroom activities, but it's also about community support and what else they have to offer, and they can get those things through college tours. And also success and support at those institutions, because face it, a lot of our students need support, because most of these colleges sink or swim. They'll let you in, and if you get it, you get it. If you don't, you don't. And so what we like to talk about is what is at that school to help you if you run into trouble. So academic advising, career services, tutoring, and also mental health. COVID has done a number on our kids, and we're starting to see some of that at the college level, because most of them are in college now. And just that little 1.5 years, whatever it was, no interaction is really hurt, and we're seeing that on our campus. And so mental health is another thing that we want to make sure that they understand. So Alabama State, for example, we don't just talk about majors when we talk to students. We talk about mentoring, internship, leadership programs, and how we can prepare students to complete on a global level. Next slide. Okay, the power of early exposure. One of the things that we talked about earlier is just introducing students as early as middle school to what college has to offer for them. The early engagement is also key to making sure they know what's advised for them. And one of the things that we talk about in terms of HBCUs, why HBCUs? HBCUs are for everyone. That's a misconception that is only for folks who look like me. And historically, we are, in terms of color, in terms of culture, historically black, but not exclusively black. And we have disproportionate numbers of African American doctors, teachers, judges, and engineers, all are graduates of HBCU. But we also serve students who are of different backgrounds and ethnicity, and from other countries. Inclusivity and excellence. HBCUs model what diversity and culture and pride looks like. We know that the ugly word right now in our culture is DEI. Most of the schools and state schools in Alabama have done away with DEI. And one of the things that I tell people all the time, Alabama State is DEI. I mean, you can change the name, you can call it what you want to, but we exist because there was a time when African American students and students of different backgrounds did not have options or opportunities. Well, HBCUs create that opportunity. And then it's also a community of care. The small class sizes, strong faculty relationships, and mission-driven by equity and service. I tell everybody Alabama State is small enough to know you, but big enough to grow you. And that's really what makes it different. And I always share a story, my own personal story. The first generation college student, not prepared to go to college. decided my second semester of my 12th grade year that I was going to college, and of course I wasn't prepared. I wasn't a dumb kid, just wasn't a prepared kid, and there's a difference. And I remember going to school and had a class, maybe we were in school maybe 3-4 weeks, had no idea this lady knew who I was. Her name was Maddie Walker. Tell the story, and it's an absolutely true story. I made the mistake one day of not going to Miss Walker's class, but then I made the other mistake of being on campus. And I saw the lady walk out the door, but by the time I saw her, she'd already seen me, so there was no hiding, right? And she looked at me, and I looked at her. She looked at me, she said, I'm around all my friends because you're just hanging out. And she comes to me, she said, why did you miss my class? Of course, I get to him and all, and I'm like, and she's like, you don't ever miss my class. I said, yes, ma'am. And my mama raised me, right? And I walked away, and she walked away. But I walked away from that interaction knowing, first of all, I was shocked that she even knew who I was. I mean, she I don't know if she knew my name, but she definitely knew my face. And she cared enough to say, you need to be in class. And that just stuck with me. I never missed another day of Miss Maddie Walker class. I ended up getting an 8 out of that class, but what was more important to me was the lesson that I learned, because she could have very easily kept walking. Made a mental note, said, okay, I see what this joke is about. I see what he's on. And then she's going to take care of me in that grade book. But she cared enough to do that. And so I just felt like that small environment really entitled her to do that, because, you know, you all been on some of the campuses where it's a big auditorium, you have a person just lecturing, they finish, they go home. They give you a test, they never know who you are. And so in small environments like that, you get a chance to really, really understand who people are. And I certainly appreciate Ms. Maddie Walker. She's since passed, but that story I share, I keep her name alive because I'm always telling that story to students. Other thing is exposure, expands perspective. When non-students of color learn about HBCUs, they gain insight into the depth of Black excellence in American history. And one of the things that we have at Alabama State, I'm not sure if you all are familiar with the, I'll call it a landmark case of Knight versus the state of Alabama. A man by the name of John Knight, who worked at Alabama State at the time, he's since retired. They brought a lawsuit against the state of Alabama regarding the inequity in funding for historically Black colleges and universities versus the flagship PWIs. So she talked about land-grant colleges earlier. So our land-grant college, HBCU, of course, is Alabama A&M. Our land-grant college for the PWIs, the big one is, of course, Auburn University. And so PWIs had Alabama Auburn, Alabama State, and Alabama A&M served as the state-supported HBCUs, of course. Well, eventually that case was settled. And of course, we won that case, and based on what we learned, the judge in the case, when he made the decision, of course, we got some new buildings, some new programs, we got some scholarship monies that were created from that particular lawsuit. But the judge went on further to say that maybe we were not doing enough to increase diversity enrollment at Alabama State. And so they created a scholarship fund for diversity on Alabama State campus. And we opened to any undergraduate student coming in and wanted to attend an HBCU. Well, that money was left on the table year after year after year because there was nobody taking advantage. There's such a stigma of wanting to come being a non-Black coming to an historically Black college that people were actually leaving money on the table and go somewhere else and get into debt when they could come to Alabama State, took the same program, and had scholarships for free. It got so bad that we finally had to go back to the judge and say, hey, can we use this money in our grant program? The judge said, yes. And I'm telling you, the things that Alabama State changed overnight at 5 o'clock. We were not even on agency campus because what the professional folks do is that it didn't matter what the degree they had. They were only credit and you did it like you're supposed to, you were good. And so things at Alabama State University changed after 5. But the sad part is that we still did not get high school students to take advantage of this particular program. That scholarship lasted for about 10 years and it's done now, but they still give me about $300,000 in scholarship money. It has to be from somebody in high school, and it has to be after graduating high school, state of Alabama, but they have to meet certain criteria. But they do have money that's just simply zero here. You can't reward anybody because they don't need the requirements. And the purpose of the ones that actually need the requirements one of the reasons why I wanted to be here today to let you all know, you get to the schools every day, you know that what their financial challenges are, and you want to go to some of these schools to get unemployed, to get in a bunch of debt, and you really don't have to. My daughter now is a freshman in the state this year. They have the same argument with her because she wanted to get away from Montgomery. She's been around Alabama State most of her life. She wanted to go away and do things up places. And for me, I sort of made it make sense. If you're going to get scholarship money, we need to have some discussion. If not, as a parent, I'm going to make some executive decision. My wife is real parent. She went out and calculated the way that she calculated the price. She went and calculated from the 8th grade to the 12th grade how much money we spent each year. And it sounds so good. We already paid your college education in high school. You're going to go to college, you're going to get some scholarship to help it. But we as parents, we got to make an executive decision. And I kind of wanted her to do a part of the decision. I said, okay, let's do it now. This is what you got this school. This is what you have. How you going to be have to pay, right? And so finally she came to the correct decision that she was going to do it. So I understand the struggle is real. The students just really got these big dreams of where they want to go to, but it's professional. All these schools are first generation college students, parents that went to college, they see the same thing on TV, they want to be part of that, which is absolutely fine and wonderful. But college is expensive. It costs a lot of money. I know I'm preaching to the choir, but you all know it. But for them to be able to have some real guidance to tell them, listen, you can go this place and get all this debt because you need the qualification. So you can go to this place, you have some scholarship dollars, you can go to financial education, and you need to zero to no debt. And so these are conversations that I'm hoping that this will spark, for you all, because to have the information to know that it exists. Because based on the DEI regulatory, we can't even advertise scholarship. Because the DEI is diversity, right? And so we can't advertise scholarship. So I'm letting you all in on this big secret. Because we don't want to keep it secret. We want you all to actually have to in your situation. For your college, for your high school, and in this situation, they need the scholarship. Please let me know. I want to leave some cards here as well, that you can do out of contact, because it's important that we can give them the opportunity to learn and to grow. And part of that is making sure they don't get into a bunch of debt that they don't have. So, let's So, as we close, I wanted to leave you with these thoughts. Recruits are not just the face of the university. We're partners in dream building. We stand on the shoulders of those who dare to dream, so our students can stand taller and go further. To the counselors and community leaders here today, thank you for the difference that you make. Give yourselves a hand for that, because you all, I know you do a lot of work, and it's so funny to hear you all saying, okay, I'm just doing enrollment person, I teach English, and I also work a lot. I mean, and that's kind of how it is at the HBCU, where we at. My title is Assistant Vice President for Student Affairs, Enrollment Management, Admissions, and Recruitment. And so I get it. There's a lot of acts that people don't appreciate you sometimes, so you certainly want to say thank you for what you do day in and day out. Nobody else ever says it. I'm saying it today. Thank you for what you do, because it matters. The other thing about that is together we can open doors like paths and keep the dreams alive. Remember, dreams don't just belong to those who dream them. They belong to all of us that make them come true. And so with that, I can't remember that we can move on. I do want to mention that we have a connection day on our campus that's going to be held on November 22nd. So if you have an opportunity to get students to come in to see the campus, they'll get a chance to, we have a couple of panel discussions for them. They'll also get to go to the football game that day. That's free of charge to them. The only thing they pay for it, they come to the people. November 22nd. It's an earlier morning than I anticipated, because they changed the time of the game. I think the game's going to be televised, so it went from 2 o'clock to 12 o'clock. We got to get in at 8 in the morning, and so we get them out to the game. And again, those are things I tell people all the time. Programs make a difference. We talk. But students need to see culture too. They need to see what's going on. They need to see football in the band, because they love that band. We got the best band in the land, so. But we love that, and we wanted to have that, because we never underestimate the reason college. I told you all my story. I didn't decide I wanted to go to college until the second semester of my 12th grade year. The reason, I'll tell y'all that, but I'll share this with you before I sit down. The reason why I went to college. I had a friend of mine that invited me and said, man, let's go to this step show. Big show, step show. I'm like, what's that? I've never heard that before. He started telling me what it was, and I said, like, I don't know. He said, gonna get some girls here. I said, say that. I'm coming. And I'm telling you, I walked in this room, and I saw all this stuff I'm just gonna make. Such a depth privilege. First generation college, we exposed to something that most people don't like. And we want to talk about our academic programs, and we know what this and know this. So that goes all over the place. They can see something that resonates with them, regardless whether it's football, whether it's a band, whether it's a career organization, whatever that is. But don't discount it, because that got me there, and that's what got me there. And of course, 3 degrees later, I'm here to tell the story that it mattered, that it didn't matter what it was mattered that it was, and I took advantage of it. So with that, I'll be quiet, and if you all have any questions, I'll be glad to answer those. There's some brochures on the table for each of you to kind of see the programs and offerings that we have at Oleander State University. In that brochure, we have a list of our majors on one page, and the other thing that I didn't mention that we do now have a couple of 100% degree programs online. So for folks who are non-traditional and want to start college and want to be able to do that through HBCU, we do have some 100% online programs as well. All traditional programs are here. Our scholarship page is in the middle. Of course, the automatic scholarship that we just created last year. So students that have to do anything other than meet the requirements with the at least 275 GPA, they will automatically get scholarship money, and that will go from $1,000 to $5,000 a year. They can also apply for our competitive scholarships, which are on the middle, on the last tab here. And they have at least a 20 on the ACT and at least a 3.0 GPA. And we are test optional, by the way, in terms of admissions. But for scholarship, they do not have a test score on file. And then finally, we have different ways to communicate with us, whether it's to schedule a tour or to actually do an application. We have the information on the particular brochure. That, any questions, comments, observations?
As we strive to each one teach one in our mission to share information and opportunities regarding continued educational opportunities at HBCUs and other colleges not as frequently highlighted, along with providing information regarding possible careers and military service, we learned a new concept which we were following, but following unknowingly, and that is to educate, enlist, employ. Through our connection with the newly established Thrive program at Lurleen B. Wallace Community College's coordinator, we will be incorporating this concept in a more visible aspect also. The concept of hosting this luncheon was a great accomplishment to our organization to help continue build networks and relationships, to brainstorm on ways to continue to reach all students, parents, and community members, and to learn from each other. We are very thankful and grateful for past support from our school counselors, career coaches, administration, and community, and we look forward to continued support as we all strive to give our students and residents the best opportunities possible. Thank you so much for your continued support with the Oleander 2 Civic and Social Club endeavors.